Hey everyone, now that we know how to add and subtract polynomials, we're going to move into multiplication, and we're going to start with multiplying monomials, meaning only one term at a time. So before we really get into working with variables, let's just review some work with exponents. So the instructions say write the following in expanded form. So we're going to write these exponents, and instead of using exponents, we're going to write them in expanded form. So 2 squared means 2 times 2, 2 times. And then when we simplify that, we know that 2 times 2 is 4. Next, we have 2 to the third power. So remember, that's not 2 times 3. That's 2 3 times, multiplying it to itself 3 times. So this becomes 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 8. 2 to the fifth power. Remember, it's not 2 times 5, so it's not 10. It's 2 multiplied to itself 5 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that gives us 32. All right, so now let's take a look at part D. It says 2 squared times 2 to the third. So I'm going to just write out my 2 squared, which is 2 times 2, and I'm going to multiply that to my 2 to the third. So I'm going to just put that in blue. 2 times 2 times 2. So we see 2 squared here and 2 to the third here. So we know that the answer to that is 32 because we just did that in part C. So what do we notice here? We have 2 to the fifth over here, which was 5 2's. Now we have 2 squared times 2 to the third, which we see here is 5 2's. So these are the same thing. So how do we get from one to the other? Well, if we look, 2 plus 3 is 5. So what we can do here is we can keep our bases the same. We didn't do anything with these bases of 2. But if you add the exponents, you're going to get the same thing. So let's look at that a little bit more in detail. So when multiplying monomials with like bases, so that means they have to have the same base, multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. Simplify the following. It says x to the third times x to the 5. And I know that's multiplication because we see those parentheses, which represents multiplication. Now, if you don't remember, if there's no number in front of the variable x here, there's no coefficient, that invisible coefficient is 1. So there's going to be a 1 there and a 1 there. So now, first step, multiply the coefficients. So we're going to multiply these numbers in front. 1 times 1 gives us, so we have 1 times 1, that gives us 1. Now we have to add these exponents. We have 3 plus 5, so that's going to give us 8. Now we don't really need to write the 1 here, so I'm going to just rewrite my answer here, x to the 8th. And that's it. Let's take a look at another example. We have 3y to the 4th times negative 7y to the 2nd. So we have 3 times negative 7. We're going to multiply those numbers in front. That's going to give us negative 21. And then we're going to add our exponents here, just like we did over here with the 3 and the 5. 4 plus 2 gives us 6. So that gives us y to the 6th power. And that's it. Let's take a look at another couple examples. Simplify the following. 5ab to the third times 2a to the 4th b squared. So first, let's focus on our coefficient, 5 times 2. That's going to give us 10. Now, we have to add exponents of the same base. So I have an a and a b here. The first thing I notice is this a doesn't have an exponent. So remember, if there's no exponent written, there's a little invisible 1. So I'm only going to add the exponents of a. I'm going to pretend that the b doesn't even exist right now. So we have 1 plus 4, that gives us 5. So this becomes a to the 5th power. We didn't even look at b, we didn't look at our numbers in front, we only focused on a. Now let's do the same thing for b. We have b to the 3rd and b squared. We're going to add those exponents. I'm going to circle those in green, and that's going to give us b to the 5th power. So only focus on one variable at a time and add those exponents. And that's our answer for this one. Now let's take a look at this last one. So we have coefficients that are fractions. Don't be scared. Fractions are okay. So we have 1/2 times 1/4. Now, if you remember rules of multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 gives us 1, and then 2 times 4 gives us 8. Let's move to our variables. We have x squared, and we have x to the third. So let's add those exponents, x squared, x to the third. That's going to give us x to the fifth. And now let's pay attention here. This has a y, but this does not. Now, if there is no variable, no like variable, you can't do anything with this y. You can't add this invisible 1 to anything. So you're just going to leave it alone. You're just going to bring it right down. And don't add anything to it. Don't change it in any way. And that is our answer to the last one.